This ABC Sports Exclusive is brought to you by Aqua Velva Aftershave Lotion, Famous Ice Blue, Cool Frost Lime, and Wild Redwood. 3 ways you can prove there's something about an Aqua Velva man. By Lincoln Mercury Division and the cars that make Mercury your password for action in the 70s. And by Sears, best exterior house paint for great American homes like yours. Live and in color from the Riviera Lanes in Akron, you will see the climax to the greatest tournament for the greatest bowlers in the world, the famous Firestone Tournament of Champions. Before record-breaking crowds, starting on Thursday, 48 champions. There were nothing but winners competing, and after 48 games, 5 remain in a position to win the $25,000 first prize in a record-breaking total purse of $100,000. I'm Chris Schenkel, and how nice it is to be back in Akron, Ohio with the Firestone folks. The 6th time that we've been here to bring you the finals of this event. So what do you say we meet those 5 bowling stars? First of all, the man that finished 5th, who won the Tournament of Champions in 1967. This year he won the Ebonite Open in Overland Park, Kansas. Here is Jim Stefanich. Jim, I know today you have a special ambition in this event.
That's right, Chris. I'd like to be the first one to win the Firestone Tournament of Champions for a 2nd time.
Starting in 5th, it might be a little difficult.
I got a long road to go. There's got to beat 4 great champions.
But you are a great one yourself. Good luck.
Okay.
Jim Stefanich, ladies and gentlemen. And in the number 4 position, young Barry Asher, qualifying by winning the 1966 New Orleans Open. Here he is, ready to go, and there's a special feeling, I'm told, Barry, that you have here today.
Yes, Chris, I feel real sharp and confident. I bowled good all week.
You appear mighty loose.
Well, thank you. I'm going to try to stay loose and just see what happens.
All right, good luck to you, Barry Asher. And in the number 3 position, from Hartford, Wisconsin, the 1969 Bellows Valverde winner in Rochester, New York, among other tournaments. Here he is, Dick Ritger. Dick?
Hi, Chris. I'm happy to be here.
What gives you the most confidence in this championship classic today?
Well, Chris, last night on this pair of lanes, I rolled a 298, and I have a pretty good line going for me today, so I have a lot of confidence. I feel real good.
Want to know something? You bowl a 300 today, and we'll give you an additional 10 grand.
We won't think about that. We'll try to get one strike at a time.
Good luck, Dick Ritger. And now in the number 2 position, winner of the 1968 El Paso Open, now bowling out of Dayton, Ohio. Here he is, tall Mike Durbin. Mike?
Hello, Chris.
I understand you made a drastic change coming into the Firestone event.
Yes, Chris, I'm going to bring back 3 steps.
What do you mean?
Well, I changed to 3 steps in the semi-roller this week.
All right, we'll watch you with that trio of steps, and good luck.
Thank you.
Mike Durbin. And now here is the tournament leader, originally from Kokomo, Indiana, now bowling out of Akron, Ohio. He has finished twice in this great event. Just last Saturday, he won the New Orleans Open in Pete Fountain's hometown. And after 48 games, he is averaging 232. Don Johnson. Don? 232. You must have had some big games here in Akron this week.
Yes, I was fortunate enough to shoot a 300 game, and it's really quite an honor to shoot one of those here at the Firestone.
Well, tournament leader, good luck today.
Thank you very much.
Don Johnson. So there they are, the finalists of the $100,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions with Don Johnson in the top position. He's the man to beat this afternoon. We'll be back for the start of the action live and in color on the Professional Bowlers Tour.
We're having the painters in to do old Mark Twain's place today. A lot of people like to see it when they come to Hannibal, so we like to keep it up real nice. Yeah, looks like they're doing a fine job, too. Using Sears' best latex house paint. Yep, house gonna look good as new. Mentioned something about climate formulated, too. Now, that means they're using what's been made specially for our part of the country, so it lasts a long time. Through our blistering hot summers and miserable Missouri winters. Anyway, like I said, it being a famous place and all, we like to make sure it looks real nice. Never know who's going to be passing through.
Sears Best Exterior Latex for great American homes, like yours.
So once again, here's how the final rounds are set in today's competition. Jim Stefanich and Barry Asher, our 5th and 4th ranked bowlers in the tournament thus far, will meet in the very first game head-to-head. The winner of this match will attempt to bowl his way past Dick Ritger in 3rd, Mike Durbin in 2nd, and finally meet Don Johnson for the championship and $25,000. Here's my colleague who knows about that type of money, Billy Whalo.
Well, thank you, Chris. It's, again, a great honor to be here at the Firestone with these great champions. When they have really shot the lights out here this week, as you mentioned, with Don Johnson averaging 232, the least of which Jim Stefanich in 5th place averaged 222. Chris, the secret here this week has been to play this shot right down the track area. And the key, most all of the players have been playing this line right through here, very straight with a little hook right on the back end. All of them have had their speed control very soft, and that has been the key to carry to get those big high scores.
Billy, to make sure they get that line, why don't you draw it once more so they won't miss it this afternoon?
Well, they're going to be starting the ball right in this area, going between that 2nd and 3rd arrow. There's the 10th board right there, and there's the 15th board right there. Now, this right lane hooks a little more right about this point, Chris, and there's the key. If they have to use a little more speed on that right lane, they may be tapped a little bit.
All right, let's get right to that action. Jim Stefanich and Barry Asher. There they are, the customary handshake. This is head-to-head. You lose, you're out. You get a fine paycheck in this $100,000 event. And here's the man that won it in 1967. Jim Stefanich.
Chris, and he's a real threat. He moved all the way up from 17th place in the match game competition.
And he opens with a boom and strike. Jim Stefanich, Joliet, Illinois. And his opponent in this very first game, whom you met at the beginning of our live color telecast, 24-year-old Barry Asher. He's just been voted the best dressed off the lanes. Well, the 8 pin, the only one standing. Billy, you know a lot about this man because you started him. He's your protege.
Certainly did, Chris. Brought back a lot of memory. A very close friend of mine, Esther Woods, in California, brought this young man to me when he was 8 years old, Chris, out there in Van Nuys, California. It's been a great thrill to see him come a long way.
Well, he knows how to shoot spares.
And believe it or not, at that time, he was very sharp and had a big high backswing. It went way up over his head. But that shows you what you can do in time with dedication and a lot of talent.
We talked about Don Johnson's 300, Ritger's 298. This boy had a 299. And on the left lane here at the Riviera, the first strike for Asher in 2 frames. Now, getting ready to stroke in the second, Stefanich with a strike up. It's a double for Stefanich. And he takes a 10-pin lead in the very first game, live and head-to-head.
This is the do-or-die part of the competition, Chris. A loss here, and you have to wait till next year.
All right. Now looking for 3 in a row. Three times up to the line and 3 strikes, and now a 20-pin lead. Asher with a strike up in the second.
there's what we were speaking about in the graphic drawing of the speed control. A little too much speed, a little too straight in the entering angle there, and the 6 goes right around the 10. That's a calculated risk that the player must take. If he were slower than that, it may break too sharply for him.
All right. Cross lane. If you just joined us, you're watching the Professional Bowlers Tour telecast. This is the final telecast here in 1970 in 13. And, of course, what a way to end it for another year with the $100,000 Tournament of Champions. And now in the left lane, he has 2 strikes, 2 spares on the right lane, trailing by 20 pins. The action will continue live and in color on the Professional Bowlers Tour. Here is Jim Stefanich in our first head-to-head game in the Tournament of Champions. Leading by 20 pins, he has 3 in a row, shooting in the 4th.
Looks very strong, Chris. In a row. Following our Professional Bowlers telecast, it'll be ABC's Wide World of Sports featuring the Sebring 12-hour Grand Prix of Endurance and NCAA Swimming and Diving from Salt Lake City. Now in the 5th frame, Stefanich. Big one. Powerful, Chris. And he senses victory. You see the arm thrust in the air. When you do that, the player feels he's pretty confident. He's really stroking.
And an opponent can't do much, especially with 2 spares and 2 strikes, trailing by 40. Stefanich with 5 in a row. Hit, Billy. A lot of action down there.
Well, it's one of the great breaks in bowling. When you hit the nose, break it up. And here you're going to see, we call the nose, that's bowling terminology, for too much of that head pin. There you see it's solid. Now, it's going through, and in going through, he gets some pin action. The ball was rolling instead of cutting through too sharply. So, great break. Chris, he was slower that time to try to keep away from the solid 10, and you saw the ball break way too soon.
Big ball right here. That 10 pin gets him on the left lane for the first time, trailing by 31 as a result of Stefanich having 5 in a row, opening with 5.
You mentioned about him changing bowling balls. He was going along in the qualifying rounds, not doing too badly, but not going anywhere. He changed to this ball he's using now and shot 299 with it the first game, and then went from there.
And now Stefanich, who won the Firestone in '67, was 3rd in '68, and 2nd last year. Get a big hunk of this action, Billy.
Tell you what, he's got a little lease on a good paycheck here.
6 in a row at the halfway point, the halfway to an additional 10 grand.
Recalls the great 300 game that Jack Biondelillo bowled here at the Riviera Lanes, the first 300 game on our ABC telecast. And Chris, we very well could see one today. The players have really been scoring well here at the Riviera this week. This is a very good pair, and we might see more than one 300.
The 10 pin, the most delayed 10 pin I think I've ever seen, Billy.
Very, very definitely, Chris, and we're going to look at that in slow motion. There you see the full shot. Now here it's going to be what we call a half hit. You see the ball go to the right. Now the belly or the base of that pin, where the most weight is concentrated, catches the 10.
Back back live. Barry Asher not quite as fortunate on the right lane. Now trailing by 52 is Stefanich, has strung together 7.
Had the very neck of the pin come down or the top of the pin come down first, I'm sure it wouldn't have been strong enough to carry it. But with the base of the pin, Chris, it nudged it right out of there.
The 7th frame now, Asher. Billy, Barry Asher, not only your protege on technique and bowling skill, but as I recall, you always were, you featured, I should say, pink trousers. And Barry is watching, or wearing, and if you're watching in color, you know what I mean.
Well, Chris, I always like to go for the colors.
All right.
And it adds a little, as Doug Sanders says, a little style and class, and all the bowlers are going to that now.
148 through the 7th with a strike up for Asher as we look at Stefanich, shooting in the 8th frame, has 7 strikes.
Got a lot of loft.
There's 8, 4 to go.
Got a lot of loft on that, Chris, but he's straight enough.
Look at Pete Mountain, who came all the way up from New Orleans. And he's seated next to Jim Stefanich's bride. And in front of them, tenor saxophonist Eddie Miller. What a nice surprise for them to come up after being with us last week in New Orleans. There are the strikes. 8 in a row. Looks like a clarinet, doesn't it?
It really does.
A 4-pin on the left lane. After 8 in a row. Standing room only crowd. And there have been thousands here in the days of competition. And here today they had to turn them away, unfortunately, but we hope those turned away are watching with all of you on ABC.
What a great way to open.
So leading by 61 pins, Jim Stefanich, as we'll be back with the balance of the first match at the $100,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions in just a minute.
This is PBA World Champion bowler Dick Weber showing his son how to make the difficult 1-2-4-8 spare.
Now watch this.
Well, that shows you how similar Aurora's skittle bowl is to real bowling.
Hitting the pocket is very essential, as well as picking up those spares. And like real bowling, you just can't get away from those splits. Score's the same, too. See how close you can come to that 1-2-4-8.
Skittle Bowl by Aurora. It's like having a bowling alley in your living room. For 10 years, model motoring by Aurora has been as close to real racing as you can get. Except for one thing, headlights. The new day and night racing set by Aurora.
We hope you've been with us from the start. It's 3:30 Eastern airtime. As we look at Barry Asher, he's trailing by 61 because his opponent had 8 in a row, then marked with a spare. And there's a double now with a strike in the 9th frame for Asher, cutting the lead to 51. However,
with only 1 frame to bowl, Chris, he has a possible 238 game. Jim Stefanich could open in the 10th and still win. He's in the 260s now.
For 24-year-old Barry Asher, 10-pin.
Chris, that has been pretty much a story, not only for these 5 finalists in our telecast, but for the 24 finalists and those who didn't make the finals. It was pretty much a story of them all being in the pocket. Wayne Zahn missed by only 20 pins. He was in the pocket almost all the way, but couldn't carry the 410. Jim St. John, practically every ball for the 24 games was in the pocket, and our defending champion, Jim Godman, did make the match game finals. However, he said it was a case of speed control. He was using a little too much speed and just couldn't carry that 10. but they've all been in the pocket this week. Really enjoyed the conditions here at the Riviera Lanes.
A 217 for Barry Asher, who will finish 5th in this 6th annual Firestone Tournament of Champions. And in finishing 5th, $2,500. Here's a man still alive for the $25,000 first prize. A strike in the 10th frame. Gorsey is the winner with 8 in a row, a spare, and now a strike in the 10th.
A possible 279.
His opponent's got a hot hand, has had here at Riviera this week. On this pair, bowled a 298, and we're speaking of Dick Ritger. What a big game for Stefanich as we find Dick Ritger of Hartford, Wisconsin.
Check that shirt for style and class, Chris. 269.
269 to 217, so Jim Stefanich moves a step closer to the first prize of $25,000 as he faces Dick Ritger. We'll see the start of the action in just a moment, live and in color, on the Professional Bowlers Tour. In the Tournament of Champions, the first game completed. A big 269 for Jim Stefanich, Barry Asher 217, and now Stefanich faces Dick Ritger. Another champion who hopes to move a notch closer to the $25,000 first prize. Dick Ritger striking. And now Stefanich, who had 8 in a row, marked with a spare, winding up with a 269. He won the Ebonite Open this year in Overland Park, Kansas. And that's the third 4-pin that he has had today.
Playing a very direct shot in there, Chris. Early in his string of 8 strikes on the right lane, he did not lift it quite as much, and the ball settled back to the pocket. The last 2 4-pins on the right lane, he has hit a little bit harder with the fingers, and the ball has finished just a little more.
Jim Stefanich marking with a spare in the first frame. Earlier on audio tape, Jim had this to say: the difference between the 1967 and the 1970 Firestone Tournament of Champions.
Well, the difference here than in 1967 when I won the tournament, I had a little easier speed and I had a little bit better carrying power, and this year I've been throwing the ball a little bit hard because most all year we've been bowling on lanes that hook a lot more, and I've been throwing the ball a little bit harder. So I came to here and we got lanes that are in real good shape, and I think the big thing here, the factor is not throwing the ball too hard so you can carry.
And while you listen to the voice of Stefanich, left the 4-pin on the left lane.
Pretty much the same thing there, Chris, as he was telling you about. You have a chance to lock in a little bit more, stay low with the shot, and hit a little more fingers in there and roll it and finish it good. And he's really doing that, especially on the left-hand lane, playing the angle a little different there.
2 spares for Stefanich, and now Ritger, leading by a pin. Take a bigger lead if he hits a strike in the second, hit a strike in the first.
Chris, you see that ball just stop right at the pocket, playing a little set shot in there. And one of Dick's great strong points, he's low to the floor with that swing. His trajectory is not a lot of loft. It's pretty well like a plane coming into the runway, very smooth, and not a lot of speed. So his ball gets a little more carrying power.
And Ritger opening with 3 in a row. And the pressure now is on Stefanich, who had the upper hand in the first game with Barry Asher, bowling 8 in a row. You mentioned a set shot. Some of those tomorrow on ABC at 1:55 when the New York Knickerbockers are hosted by the Baltimore Bullets at Civic Center in Baltimore, live and in color here on ABC. 6th game of the best of 7, 3-2 New York. There's Stefanich's first strike coming in the 3rd.
Chris, this is a very big shot for Jim Stefanich. When a man is winging like that, you don't want to let him get too far away. So if Jim can get a strike here, give him a double and cut that lead to 11. He really would like to have this one.
Pin on the left.
That's the crucial thing. That time, a little adjustment from the earlier 4 pins. Went a little more loft and considerably more speed. And there's the 10 pin. Hello, 10.
You have met before.
Chris, if it wouldn't be for that 10 pin, I'd have a ranch in Australia.
All right, Jim Stefanich, who trails by 21 pins, and reminding you that more of the second head-to-head match, live and in color, coming up from the Riviera Lanes in Akron on the Professional Bowlers Tour.
To bring out the Aquavelva man in you.
Great couple, Mary and Bob Thomas, here at the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Bob, the new president of the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. And Dick Ritger has 4 strikes in a row, opening up to a 31-pin lead.
He got down to his knee a little bit that time, Chris. I would second guess that he was praying no 10 pin because he went a little more direct.
Now shooting in the 5th frame. Didn't come up. Leaving the 2-7. How'll he shoot this one?
Well, Chris, he's going to try and move his body a little to the right of the approach. There you see the opening between the 2 and the 7. He'll try to direct a slight hook to the left of the 2 pin, knocking out, of course, the 2, and then the ball will go in and get the 7. Brilliantly executed, Chris.
That'll make the adrenaline flow just a little bit more as Stefanich now needs to have it, as you see the conversion again.
There you see it. It must touch. Or you could make it on the outside, but the percentage is then, of course, to the left.
5th frame, big shot for Stefanich. Spare up. The 4-7. If you could stare pins down, the look Jim gave the 4-7, they'd have gone.
Well, he's a great champion. He knows what it means to win. He knows what it takes to win. And part of that is showing your opponent that you think you can win.
Nearly chopped the 4. Closest there in the 5th frame for Stefanich.
Of course, there you see practically every shot. The only shot been away from the pocket has been Dick Ritger's split and Barry Asher when he went through the nose for the carry strike. I would say this week the players hit the pocket probably more. The entire field had the pocket line more than they have in any tournament on the tour thus far, certainly this year and maybe any year.
Strike in the 6th frame for Stefanich. Only his 2nd. In the 2nd game. In the 1st, he had 9 and a 269 to Asher's 217. After the conversion in the 5th, here's Ritger in the 6th.
Well, Chris, he certainly didn't make the same mistake twice in a row, especially, and that's the mark of a champion. He looked at his feet in the fifth frame when he left the split. He knew he had gone too fast. Brilliant adjustment, perfect timing.
And this 31-year-older has 10 PBA titles to his credit. He won 4 of them in 1969. A double, frames 6 and 7, and out to a 41-pin lead over Stefanich. We'll be back with the balance of this second match head-to-head in just a moment.
Billy Hardwick, the man has won more professional tournaments in 1 year than any other bowler in history. In the first 3 games he ever bowled, Billy scored 79, 87, and 69. So he practiced a lot, day after day, night after night. Billy puts it this way: you've got to have real desire and dedication about anything you do if you're going to do it right. It's the same with Miller High Life. We've dedicated over 115 years to brewing the best beer there is. We brew it hearty, robust, deep down good. Miller makes it right.
That gentleman looking so busy with the red phone is Frank Esposito, proprietor, Paramus Lanes in New Jersey, and our liaison, television consultant between the PBA and ABC. Boy, he's helped us over the years.
Really has, Chris.
And alongside director.
He's done a great job, too. Can't say enough good things about Frank Esposito. He used to host the ABC show there called Make That Spare.
Right.
Great gentleman, great human being.
And there is a must-hit for Stefanich. Taking 10 pins away from the 41-pin lead because of the double, Stefanich now gets ready to shoot in the 8th. Winner of this game will meet Mike Durbin. Winner of that game into the finals against Don Johnson.
Again, a great pressure strike, Chris, down by 31 with only 3 frames. He's got to keep striking.
And the 4-pin.
Disappointment written all over his face. He rolled that ball just a little too good again. You see him checking the overhead score screen. Of course, he still has the 9th and 10th frames to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And possibilities. If he could strike out, Dick Ritger would experience some trouble. We could still have a match.
And it's a mark for Stefanich. And now Ritger gets up. And he can shoot in the 8th with full knowledge that he has a double working for him. You see beneath their names the tournaments that they have won to make them eligible for this champions only event. 3 in a row for Ritger. And speaking of that type of format, on ABC April 25th and 26th, we will bring you the 3rd and 4th and final rounds of the Tournament of Champions from La Costa, north of San Diego in California. The TFC. Make it 4 in a row. He's had 8 strikes, and he made a 2-7 conversion in the 5th frame, and that's been it, Billy.
I would say Dick Ritger did not experience any trouble there, Chris. That was the only possibility that Jim Stefanich would have to come on and try and win.
Mm-hmm.
Down now by 62.
In the $100,000 event, $25,000 to the winner, $12,500 for second, $6,500 third, and Jim Stefanich will get $3,500. Barry Asher, whom Stefanich defeated 269 to 217 in the first game, will get a check for $2,500.
And for Stefanich now in 4 years, he's been first, second, third, and fourth. Not in that order. And there he gives the casual bow to the 10-pin that went out, or the 4-pin that, of course, went out too. It wasn't nearly as high. That was the solid pocket strike. There it is again. Of course, there you can see now how many shots were in the pocket, or what we call the 1-3 area for the right-hander, the 1-2 area for the left-hander. In bowling jargon is referred to as the pocket.
At 2:15 for Jim Stefanich. And you're looking at the winner of the second game, finishing his game, and then he'll meet Mike Durbin. Oh, he's relaxed and grooved. 9 strikes in 10 frames.
Possible 278, Chris, if he strikes here. If he doesn't strike, he'll be in the 260s.
Here is Mike Durbin, tall right-hander. That's the time to have it, Billy, after you've got it won by about 50 pins.
Well, it certainly is, Chris, and I would venture a guess that Dick Ritger, the heady, intelligent player that he is, with the match won, he might have been experimenting a little on that shot. He was much slower, and he actually tried to hook that ball, or he's been playing a set shot.
A 263 for Ritger, a 215 for Jim Stefanich, so Ritger now moves up to meet Mike Durbin in the third round of the $100,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions. Live and in color, you're watching the final stop on the 1970 Professional Bowlers Tour.
Watch that ball. Let's go. More pros bowl the Ebonite gyro ball than any other kind. They'll tell you why.
You know, this balance effect of the gyro really helps when it hits the pins.
As a lefty, I play that critical outside line. I need a ball I can trust, so I throw the gyro.
Scramp, I really had the juice on that ball. You see that gyro tear him up?
I get a solid feel with the gyro and consistent high scores.
It'd be difficult to improve on the gyro ball.
All of us who bowl for a living depend on that extra edge.
That's Ebonite's gyro ball, the ball built for the pros. Take your choice of 2 great gyros, the original Don Carter Gyro 1 or the new harder surface Gyro 2. Both the hard rubber, precisely balanced for greater scoring consistency. And for you girls, the gyros are available in lighter weights. Take a tip from the pros. Insist on the Don Carter Gyro. Get the Ebonite edge. Every frame, every game.
Attention-filled live color telecast from the Riviera Lanes in Akron, Ohio. Our final stop, the $100,000 Tournament of Champions. Here's Ritger, who disposed of Jim Stefanich with a 263 to 215. And like Stefanich in the first game, who shot a 269, Ritger had 9 strikes. Now he goes against 29-year-old Mike Durbin. And after Stefanich had such a great first game, he experienced a 4-pin problem. And here's Ritger on the left lane with a 4.
Chris, you can really feel that tension starting to build as we're going for that higher prize check and the win. They're playing now for a difference of $6,000 in this game. And an ultimate chance to win $25,000. That's like cutting the bread thin and the meat thick when you're going for that much money.
In other words, we're going to distribute $50,000 here this afternoon.
Oh, really?
This is early Christmas, Mike Durbin, if you're watching in color. Ooh. The 5 5-7 to start off.
Chris, he went around a little bit too much with that shot. We mean that he had too much circle or too much arc in the shot. You saw both Stefanich and Ritger and Barry Asher all playing a more direct line. Now he's going to move way to the left and try and slide this shot from left to right. Not going to try to hook this from as deep a left angle. There you see it. Make it.
That's what champions are made of. Tremendous skill.
Chris, here you see it in slow motion. The ball from left to right. At this point, it's just biting the lane and just touching the 5. Perfect shot.
Originally from Burbank, California, now bowling out of Dayton, Ohio, because it's more centrally located.
And he made a great change. That's tough in your game, Chris, to cut down. Here you see, taking 3 steps. He's done this to get a better swing, put the ball in motion. Chris, it's pretty much the same, even though it's not the 5-7, the 4-5. The result is pretty much the same because he went too wide. And this is part of trying to get his tempo. Just coming on.
The 4-5.
Chris, that man is really sharp. 5-7, now the 4-5. He's razor sharp with accuracy anyway on the second shot.
Right. Ritger opened his second game with a spare. It's a great fit.
Chris, it's the only way to make it.
Ritger with his first strike, second frame. Earlier on audio tape, he had this to say about his attitude about bowling in this year's Tournament of Champions.
The big difference with the Firestone Tournament of Champions is the fact that you have to mentally prepare yourself for this tournament. You try to stay up, stay at a peak throughout the week. You have 4 days of tough qualifying and finals, and you know that there's much more money, much more prestige if you are the champion, so you have to mentally work yourself, mentally keep yourself at a peak. And I think the bowlers that can do this, sustain this for the 4 days, will probably come out on top.
Dick Ritger, who now has a double. This is Durbin with 2 conversions, now shooting in the third, trailing by 12.
Of course, I think we can look for him to go a little more direct with the strike line.
Did just that, Billy. Leading
Yes.
to 10.
Yes, he did. Chris, we're going to take a look at Mike Durbin, the 3 steps. There you see, left foot, and he puts the ball down in motion at the same time. That's the reason for it. Mike has done it at this point. Then it's pretty much the same as in the 4-step or 5-step approach. There you see, staying low. But the key is, as you saw on the first step, putting the ball down. He has the short arm, and in taking those long, fast steps, he felt he could get better timing in cutting to the 3-step approach. There are not many left around the country today.
6-footer. Rookie of the Year, 1967. As he said coming into this, he's looking for a 2-game win streak.
He certainly is. I thought that was a very excellent one-liner.
Another 10.
Well, there you can see his battle plan or game plan. Started with the 2 slow and gave them a little room. Relied on trying to get himself set timing-wise first instead of coming out and charging or attacking the lane, not knowing just how it was going to break. See, there have been 2 games rolled already. He's been off practicing over to the other side. Very smart move. Now he's gone to the speed, and of course the resultant solid 10.
Four spares for Durbin and a 14-point deficit against Ritger. As we'll be back here at the $100,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions in just a moment.
Looking for action? You're on the right track. This Mercury Montego Action Special is styled for action with a bold new grille, powered for action with a 250 cubic inch 6, and specially equipped for action with deluxe wheel covers, white walls, and door-to-door carpeting. It's even priced for action. This Montego is priced lower than any other comparably equipped intermediate hardtop you can find anywhere. Looking for action? You're on the right track. Because now you can get Mercury Montegos, Mercury Monterey's, and Mercury Cyclone GTs, all priced for action at the sign of the cat. Better get tracking. Hunting season's for a limited time only.
Standing room only crowd. People from all parts of the country coming here to watch this event. And Ritger, who had a double working, leaves the 10-pin on the right lane.
And that was really the take charge shot. You saw Ritger running it out. Of course, 3 in a row, increased his lead another 10. You don't see Ritger go to the speed that much, and he really wanted that strike.
Ooh.
There were a few oohs and ahs there, Chris.
So there you see it. That'll be the 5th frame for Ritger. Remember, the winner of this goes into the final game head-to-head against tournament leader Don Johnson, where they will bowl for $37,500. Another 10.
That was the soft 10 there, Chris. Started that ball out a little more to the right, and it used up a lot of its roll in getting back and hit very softly, what we call the soft 10 or the half 10. Very astute young man, this Dick Ritger. He's the chairman of the PBA's Image Committee and very much responsible for keeping the fellows looking sharp, Chris.
Okay. Now, Mike Durbin, trailing by 12, 5th frame, spare up. The 4-pin for Durbin in that 3-step approach. And earlier he expounded on the changes that he made coming into this classic.
I've made a major change in my game for this particular tournament this week. Last week I bowled 4 steps full roller and I have all winter. This week I changed to 3 steps and a semi-roller because the turning ball carries better and has a harder hitting power for this particular house.
Of course, there you see it, and it takes a lot of talent to do what Mike Durbin has just told you about, to change your steps, change the roll on your ball. And what he means by that full roller is where the track of the ball goes between the thumb and the finger holes. As you see there, putting his hand in the ball, the track would go between the thumb and fingers. With the semi-roller, the track is outside the thumb, and you've got to be very adept at doing this. We do not recommend the average bowler trying it.
And that kind of coordination has gotten Durbin his first strike in 6 frames.
The fortunate thing, Chris, is that he is only down by 13. Dick Ritger couldn't get away with a string of strikes, so there you see it, only a 13-pin difference.
Imagine what that next and final game will be like.
Powerful strike. That Ritger is a manicurist out there on those lanes, Chris. 3 different types of shots he is using. That seems to be his favorite and most successful. Pretty soft, pretty straight up the track, and the ball kind of just sets in the pocket. He's tried to hook a few, threw a couple real hard.
.47 on the left lane.
Chris, I wish you didn't have to go do that basketball game tomorrow. We'd try to get you into the Celebrity Pro-Am here tonight and see how your hook is working.
All right, I'll take a rain check maybe next year. All right, 13-pin difference. The action will continue in just a moment as the best bowlers in the world compete for their share of the money here in the $100,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions, Riviera Lanes, Akron, Ohio. But first, let's listen to this message.
The brand of spark plugs you use can change the mileage you get out of your gas. 2 professional golf champions are going to prove it.
Just watch Julius Boris.
And Tom Weiskopf.
We drive off in identical Chevys with measured amounts of gas.
The only difference is spark plugs. Julie's got champions, and I've got good old brand X.
What's the matter, Tom? Run out of gas?
You know it.
Look, I got way past 17.
Julie, here's where I get even. This time I've got the champions. That's me again.
By the way, Tom, my throttle was mechanically controlled. All I did was steer.
Same here, old buddy. Only this time, I'm one up.
You mean champions are one up? Take our word for it. Champions make a difference.
You'd better believe it.
That's why over 20 million drivers and 2 golfers have switched to champions from other brands. Check it out for yourself. Champions can make a difference.
Mike Durbin, born in California, now bowling out of Dayton, trailing by 13 pins.
Chris, he can cut it to 3.
And he does with a double. That strike coming in the 7th frame. Boy, the loser here gets $6,500 in this game. The winner has a chance at 25, or if he loses in that final game, 12,500.
And by winning, you're still alive for a shot at that 300 game and 10,000 too. He can take the lead with a strike here, Chris. He could go in the lead by 7 pins. Taking an awful long time on this ball. Rolled it well, though.
Now, can he repeat what he did in the first 2 frames with conversions? This time it'll be the 5-10.
Chris, he's got to go now for the left side of this 5, and you could tell by the amazed look on his face. I thought he rolled it well from where I was sitting, but going that wide arc around is cost him here. He's got to go to the left of the 5 and slide it into the 10. He's going to go boldly for it, Chris. Oh. Now that's really a tough break.
Remember, he did convert the 5-7, 4-5, and here in the 8th frame opening, and it increases Ritger's lead to 17. Ritger shooting in the 8th with a spare up. Well, one needs a touch of luck.
Dame Fortune, that's right, Chris. May he or she always be shining on your show. You got to talk to that man upstairs a little bit.
ABC's Championship Auto Racing Series begins next Sunday at 5 Eastern Time from Talladega. That's in Alabama. A 500 stock car race. And there's another one. Making it a double for Ritger. That strike coming in the 9th frame.
Yes,
leading by 27.
Chris, Mike Durbin now can score 211. If he would strike here and then make 3 in the 10th, he would force Dick Ritger to mark. Chris, we comment about how much time he took on that previous shot where he got the split.
Coming back with a strike in the 9th.
He went much more quickly that time, and then, of course, had a better line on the shot. Where he left that 5-10 split, it was just from too much circle in the ball. The ball wore itself out trying to get back. When it got back, it had no power to carry the pins.
All right.
He must make 3 strikes. He had that one out in the tall grass too, Chris,
Yes.
but a little better roll and got away with the skinny hit.
A double. You mentioned the pro celebrity today as Pete Fountain came through the door. I wanted to help him carry his luggage, piece of luggage. Heaviest thing I've ever carried. He told me his bowling ball was in his airplane luggage.
He came prepared, and we're going to look forward to having Pete and Eddie Miller both participating along with some of our ABC people. And Chris, he's alive.
3 in a row. Well, Mrs. Durbin came out here to see all this action, and Debbie is looking on with seated next to Mike Connor of Firestone.
Chris, if he strikes here, he could have 211. Now you can see what an unfortunate break that 5 just laying over there in front of the 10 was. 211. Dick Ritger must mark, Chris.
All right, a 211 for Mike Durbin, who bowled in his very first game. Now you're looking at Ritger, who bowled a 263 to defeat Jim Stefanich, who had a 215. And if you joined us late in the very first game, Stefanich defeated Barry Asher 269 to 217. What a difference. That's the best kind of mark.
The best kind. And he rolled it well. He went to his little favorite shot, Chris. Beautiful shot right up the strike line, about the 13th board. Did not hit it very hard, or did not have the good swing power in there to leave the solid 10. That was excellently well-rolled ball underneath all that pressure.
So it means we're going to have an all-Midwest final between Wisconsin's Ritger and Indiana's Johnson. Earlier you heard him comment that he'd bowled a 298 on this pair. He has had a 263 already, and now he'll be in the 230s. Wow.
Yes, a strike here would be 238. With a 263, that's 500 for 2. That's 250 average for the first 2 games.
So it's a 237 to 211 victory for Dick Ritger. So now the story shapes up here at the $100,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions. That final 12,500. Ritger's victory over Mike Durbin puts him into the final game against Don Johnson, who has finished 5th in the Firestone Tournament once, 2nd twice. What consistency.
Really has, Chris. He's bowled very well here, especially the 2 years, 67 and 68, where he finished 2nd. Don's really got a line here at Riviera, and he had tough luck those years, or he might have been champion twice already.
He was 2nd first to Jim Stefanich, and then 2nd to Dave Davis. And we have some videotape highlights of Don Johnson, first against Stefanich. It was in the 2nd frame of the roll-off. And this is where Don ran into trouble.
Right.
Against Stefanich, 1967. Here it is.
He earlier needed a strike. Now we're in sudden death. Of course, he only gets 7 pins.
And that wasn't enough in 1967, as Stefanich went on to win, and Stefanich today won the first game, then lost the 2nd. Now, in 1968, in the 9th frame, he was leading by 5 pins against Dave Davis.
And he made this shot.
Getting only 7 with that first ball.
The 4-6-10, that's disaster. He came down then by 9 pins.
Right, and eventually lost to Dave Davis, but he's got another chance today. The tournament leader, after 48 games, averaging 232, and he's going against a hot bowler, Dick Ritger.
Well, Dick's very hot today. Don has bowled superbly all week. He's been right up there all week, Chris. He had just a comfortable lead, but now it's all do or die, 1 game.
13th and final stop on the PBA Tour, 9th year for ABC television. And as we get ready for the championship match here at the Firestone Tournament of Champions, we look to the lanes, and In gold and blue, Dick Ritger.
Out of the gate.
Out of the chute. Now, Don Johnson. 29 years old. Had a 300 here.
Chris going for that that much money. That ball is very, very heavy.
Won last week's New Orleans Open. Hope you watched that live color telecast.
And he's wearing the same outfit. Oh, what a great trade.
Don Johnson, and this is a little sidelight for us coin collectors. Some folks in New Orleans gave Don and his wife some gold coin pieces, so he thinks by carrying those brings him some luck too. You can get a lot of gold coins if you can win this one game.
Plenty bread. Heavy bread with a heavy ball.
And Don Johnson has opened with a double. His parents are here watching, along with the people that started him in Kokomo, and now Dick Ritger, who has a tremendous number of fans also.
Great match, Chris. Pressure building very early when the players get a start like that.
Things are all even after 2 frames, each with a double.
The temperature has gone up about 15 or 20 degrees down there, and the adrenaline is starting to flow.
Mm-hmm.
Up here, too, Chris. I can feel it.
Even our marker, Harry Smith, getting fired up.
Going for 3. They're both still alive for the 300.
3 in a row. And now, can Don Johnson match it? He's got 2 in a row.
Chris, we talked earlier about the right lane breaking just a little bit more. On Don's first shot, he experienced that, was fortunate to trip the 4-7. As we watch him this time, I think we can look for him to go to just a little more speed.
Split screen showing you that mixer. Don Johnson after 3 frames and Dick Ritger all even. 6 straight strikes.
He didn't have quite as much speed as I thought he would have, Chris, but the ball is not breaking sharp. That's Don's success this week, and tripping out the 4-7 both times.
Johnson. Ritger has 3 in a row, as we'll return with more of the final match between Ritger and Darrell Lanes. This is the final game, worth $25,000 to the winner. This man has 3 strikes in a row. His opponent has 4. And again, we're even. 8 straight strikes. Ritger and Johnson.
Going along at this pace, Chris, it looks like the first one that cracks is going to lose. Could we see 2 300 games? That'd be unbelievable.
You have to be a champion. You have to have won a PBA event in order to be eligible. There were 48 champions that started here on Thursday. And after 48 games, the 5 top bowlers in our live telecast. Five in a row. And now the pressure goes right back, seesawing this time to Don Johnson, who has 4 up.
Chris, it's been this kind of week here. In match game play yesterday, Don Johnson rolled 289, defeating Jim Stefanich, who had 268 in the highest and most exciting match of the day. Looks like we have another one right now.
Don is on the right lane.
It's the key shot here. thinking adjustment. Little more speed, he went.
10 straight strikes by two champions. All even.
The extended follow-through that time made the ball go down the lane. Little more speed, delayed the roll. Intense young man. Heady player, great concentrator.
They're bowling for $37,500. And don't think there isn't pressure. There you see all the strikes.
That's a full boat so far.
Now it's Johnson, 6th frame.
What a match, Chris.
6 in a row. And a 10-pin lead. But Dick Ritger has 5 in a row, getting ready to shoot in this 6th frame.
If this one doesn't thrill the audience, Chris, you just don't like fried chicken on Sunday, I'll tell you that. Goes quickly.
And we have reached the halfway point of what should be a record-breaking afternoon. 13 stops on the tour. This is the last 9th year of our ABC PBA telecasts. There they are, all those strikes.
Pheasant tracks.
Between the two, they've got a 300.
Right, Chris.
Ritger's string is broken. It's a 4-pin on the left lane. The applause now, much deserved.
There are real great fans here at the Riviera, Chris. The Akron fans really know professional bowling, and they've really rewarded the players' great efforts this week. Now this is take charge time for Don Johnson.
Right, with 6 in a row, getting ready for the 7th frame. One pin, strike here. Give him 7 in a row. Straight and 11-pin lead at the moment. Don Johnson. And there's Marianne Johnson, an Akron girl.
Praying hard, Chris. They have one, they're expecting another.
A lot at stake, 25 grand. If you could get a 300, 10,000 more, plus a Lincoln Mercury Cougar.
Really? Right on, Don.
Now right on the 8th frame. Eight in a row, 4 to go. Don Johnson.
Unbelievable trips on those 4s.
Here it is again in slow motion.
Very deliberate, puts the ball into motion, stays with it. Good follow-through. There you see it. Now here, looks like it's going in high, but he's not breaking it sharp. And look at that 2-pin come back and nudge out the 4. That's shades of Andy Marsich, Pete Thomas. Rolled it well.
The 8-pin for Dick Ritger. Ritger defeated hot Jim Stefanich, who had a 269 in his first game. Ritger came back with a 263. Then he defeated Mike Durbin, 237 to 211, and now in the final game.
Chris, he's far from out of it, though.
All right.
That's his 8. He has a chance in the 9th. If he sets a strike up and could strike out in the 10th, he'd have a 268, which Don Johnson is now with 8 in a row, rolling along at 260 pace.
Billy, we look forward to next year joining the PBA and ABC television and bringing the folks another series.
He still alive, Chris.
Yep. Strike in the 9th frame for Ritger. Now Johnson. Get this, 8 in a row. He's the tournament leader. He's had to be off in the wings, waiting while the other 3 games were bowled. And now, shooting in the 9th.
A lot of money, Chris. Could you hold that ball?
Nope.
Let's watch it. 10,000, 25,000. For 9. 9 in a row, Chris.
3 to go. Don Johnson. If she thinks the pressure's rough.
Chris, if he makes 3 strikes here, he'll buy those babies a lot of shoes, I'll tell you that.
I can't think of anybody I'd rather give ABC's money to.
Well, he's a great guy. He was the first chairman of the PBA's Image Committee. When he came out on the tour, he only had $300. They made him chairman of the Image Committee, and he bought a whole new wardrobe. He treasured the honor, and he really shaped the guys up. Now here he is standing on the threshold of $35,000 if he can make 3 strikes right here.
Let's watch him stroke here in the 10th frame.
Right now because that ball locked up the match.
Right.
He is the winner here at Firestone.
So he already has 25 grand. A boy that has finished second here in 67 and 68, 5th the other time. And here he has finally made it to the top.
Chris, what a way to finish our telecast.
But right now he has won it. But the point is 2 strikes, $10,000 from ABC. Let's watch. And gentlemen, he carefully looks up at the overhead sheet, and you know the story. He needs exactly 1 strike. 1 stroke, and let's see that strike.
There it is in slow motion, Chris. Perfect carry. There's that perfect speed. 1 strike. Chris, 25,000 in his pocket, 10,000 on this ball. Solid 10, Chris. Unbelievable.
And the very last ball, Don Johnson, a tremendous hit. There's Marianne Johnson. Pete Fountain consoling her. It's just 110 away from an extra 10,000, and you have to hold your head.
You really do, Chris. Under that much pressure to stroke it that well, execute. Here we're going to see it, Chris. He had just he's getting a standing ovation. We can't see the lanes right now. Look in slow motion. Don Johnson, good follow through. Here you're going to see the 6. He knows it's in there. Look at that 6, right around the 10.
And the emotion following the missing of that 10 pin there, Marianne and Don. If that doesn't bring you goosebumps, you don't have an ear for music. Right, Billy?
Really does, Chris. Gee whiz. What a way to finish the telecast. Been great stops all across the tour, and this is just a perfect climax.
What a week for Don with a 300, and here a 299, and victory, and Dick Ritger, who's had about a 250 average in his 3 games, finishing his line.
Yes, he is, Chris.
Put 3 together.
He's in the 260s here.
Right. More a total of
768.
Wow.
Chris, just want to say it's been great, all our stops across the country this year, and how great it has been being with you again.
Thank you. And we've had a lot of help from many, many fine people. Well, Don Johnson has won it. We'll be back in a minute to meet the $100,000 Firestone Tournament of Champions winner. Don Johnson, and on the approach before that final stroke, wow, the pressure, huh?
Well, I'm just thankful that I finally won this daggone thing. This has been a little rascal to me. Had 2 seconds and a fifth, and I'd just like to thank Firestone for having us here, and this is the most wonderful week of my life.
Marianne, of course, wasn't excited at all, was she?
Oh, I tell you, I thought she was going to have that baby up there in the audience.
So did I. You know, Bob Thomas is the new president of the Firestone Tire and Rubber Company. I know Bob is coming in right now, and I know he's watched championships of all types, whether it be auto racing, and Bob, I don't think you could find anything more laden with tension, could you?
Certainly not. That was fabulous. It's just a darn shame that you didn't get that last pin down. I'd like to go on down and kick it myself. But you bowled beautifully all week long, and it was, I watched quite a bit of it, and it was terrific. And Don, you're a real champion, and here's a trophy from Firestone as the champion of the Tournament of Champions, and incidentally, inside's a little check for $25,000.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. You and Scotty Brubaker and Mike Connor for helping us out so much. And here she is. Oh, you cry beautifully.
Thank you.
Imagine tears. You think of the cotton in his mouth.
I can imagine. This is just the greatest week of our lives.
Will you let him go back to Kokomo and spend some of this money?
Yes, some of it.
Okay. You're now living in Akron, right?
Yes, I'll give this to the wife because I know she's going to get it before long anyway. I might as well give it to her now.
There you go.
But this trophy is something that I'll cherish for the rest of my life, ladies.
It's better than a Kokomo basketball victory. You know that. Now go on, Don. Don Johnson, ladies and gentlemen. And there's that $10,000 cotton pick and pen. If it had gone down, it would have been, well, there you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the final stop on the